Hi, everybody. It's Tina Hamilton from My HR Partner representing EO Philadelphia. And today I have a very, very special guest, Bethany Kassar. Bethany is a clinical social worker, licensed clinical social worker. Make sure I say that right. Mm-hmm. And she has a private practice. Mm-hmm. And also, a special thing about Bethany is she is married to Ami Kassar, who is an EO member, used to be our president of our chapter. And so I'm bringing her in to talk today a little bit about her business, but also the perspective of being married to an entrepreneur and what that is like, because that's something we've never brought to the podcast before. So I'm super excited. And I love Bethany, so it makes it even better.
I love it too. It works.
We're having a love fest here.
Yeah.
Hi, Bethany.
Hi, Tina.
So, Bethany, first, I'd love to hear a little bit about your practice and what you do.
Sure. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been licensed for over 30 years now.
Oh my gosh.
A long time. My wheelhouse is substance use disorders and addiction and families.
Okay.
Prior to my little private practice that I have now in Ambler, I ran drug and alcohol treatment centers in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, So
I did not know that.
yeah, I did that for many years. And then just a little background, the venture capital companies started coming in and taking over all these treatment centers, and it became about money and the bottom line and no longer about patient care. And it just really became it was a hardship to actually run these facilities because of what they were looking for. And then the opioid crisis 10 years ago was so intense that I just got burnt out, and kind of left a little bit and then opened up a private practice.
That makes sense. I imagine that kind of business is a burnout business naturally.
Yeah, I mean, being a therapist or being a helper is always a high burnout. But that in particular, what was going on and the deaths and the illness and the sickness was just so overwhelming that I needed to just walk away.
Sure. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine, I don't want to go too far deep into this, but I'm curious, what is it that you need to have to get through that every day? Just hearing so much tough hardships that people have and just everything that involves addiction. It's not even just the addiction, right? It's all the effects.
Mental health.
And mental health. Yeah.
No, I think over time, I've been doing this long enough. I think the younger clinicians are a little bit more shell shocked, and they need a little bit more hand holding, and they need a little bit more time and help with the processing of it. I think for me, I'm just at a point where I can leave it at the office. I mean, there are some cases that you come home and you talk about and you feel bad, but I've learned how to kind of leave that there.
Yeah.
It's hard, but
yeah.
I
imagine that helps you in life period though, like being able to have that skill to leave something where it belongs.
Yeah,
Does it?
I try.
Yeah. Right. Nobody's 100%, right? It's impossible.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's pretty cool. So you do have your own business. So in a
very small.
Yeah. Still, it's still a responsibility and, everything around it. Yeah. So you have a unique situation in which you understand a little bit about what it is to run a business.
Yes.
Versus many spouses that have nothing to do with their spouse's business, and they're trying to figure out what it's like to live with an entrepreneur.
Very hard.
Because we're not normal humans.
You guys are not normal humans.
So I don't want to go too broad because I don't even know how to ask you those kind of bigger questions, but maybe more, tell me about, did Ami always have a business since you've been together?
No. So, when Ami and I first met, he was working, this was 30 plus years ago.
Yeah.
He had a job, like a corporate kind of job. We met. He did at that point decide to open up his own business.
Okay.
And that lasted for a couple while And while he was running his own business, he was approached by someone here in the Philadelphia. We're from Los Angeles, California. Okay. And while he was running his business, he was approached by someone here in the Philly area. And was given an opportunity to come here and run a big part of a big corporate company. And so he and I talked about it, and he took the risk. And so he went from being an entrepreneur, and he went to corporate America for about 10 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was the chief innovation officer for a local a
Mm,
local company.
that makes sense.
And that was, that was great. There was a salary that came in and bonuses and, all the perks with like working
Yeah.
corporate America and
Yeah.
suites at the stadiums and all that fun stuff. And then that came to a halt with, 2008 and the
Mm.
big crash that everyone kind of
yes.
experienced. And so his company ended up filing for bankruptcy and everyone was let go. It wasn't
Yeah.
just him, but the whole company was let go. And he literally was let go on a Friday, and on Monday he decided to open up his own company, and it's been a ride ever since then. Yeah.
So tell me about, because we can ask Ami about him.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I want to hear about you.
Ami.
Yeah. So tell me about what the journey was like on your perspective.
It was hard. I mean,
Yeah.
we had young kids.
Right.
And it became, it's so funny is when I talk to some of my friends who are doctors or lawyers or have husbands that are doctors or lawyers or have spouses or they themselves have a monthly paycheck, and they know where it's coming from, which is what I always knew.
Sure.
Turned very different. And it's really hard. It's a family issue. It's not just,
Absolutely.
It becomes, explaining to the kids and, that things might look different now and things were different. I mean, thank God we're on the other end of it. And he's, a very successful businessman, but it took years to get here and there were ups and downs, and that definitely affects your personal relationship. It affects your family relationship. It takes a lot of grit to kind of get through it.
Absolutely.
And want to be supportive of your partner to get through it. So,
right.
And there were nights or days where I'm like, oh my God, like just go back to corporate America. Like, this is insane. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Because if you don't have that same thing that he has, it's hard. Is it hard to understand the drive when things are bad? I mean, like during those really longer, harder periods, is it hard to not say to go to work?
I think it is. I think it's hard. And then, of course, for me, I tried to lean into my profession, right?
That's true.
And like, okay, well, but then I was like, okay, but that's my profession. This is my life, so it's like,
right.
It's like just trying to balance, how you feel and
right.
how you talk to your significant other about your feelings. But the uncertainty that a lot of entrepreneurial families experience can be really difficult.
Besides your blessing that you have that knowledge of being a social worker, so you can step back, I assume, and try to understand actions and behaviors and things. I'm not that, so I'm guessing at this, of course.
You have very good insight and intuition.
So besides that, for a spouse, and we have more spouses that are women than are men in EO, just because naturally there's more men entrepreneurs. Hopefully this will continue to evolve and change. But for now, but really for either, I guess, it doesn't actually matter, I suppose. But what helps? Like what helps when you're exhausted of those periods where there is no income coming in, or he's never home, or he's stressed out of his mind?
That's more what it is. As you're talking, I'm thinking, I think the most difficult period for me was Ami's, and because that's who it is for he's my husband, was his inability to be emotionally present,
because your mind is always
his mind still, I mean, he's still all over the place. But I think especially when you're a younger couple with younger children, he would not necessarily be gone all the time. Although my husband's job does require him. He does travel a lot.
Yes.
So he is actually out of the house a lot. But when he's home, or the periods that he was home, he really wasn't there. He'd be on his computer, or he'd be on his phone, or his mind was always racing to the next thing. And I think that's the other thing I talk a lot about with my friends who have significant others, or even themselves, who can leave and go on vacation. Like, I have friends who plan 3 vacations a year, and when they walk out of their office on a Friday afternoon to catch the flight on Saturday morning, they're off. Like, they have a 2-week vacation. I've never we don't experience that. Like, he's always working, he's always needing to be available. And I think that's hard. It's hard when you're sharing your your life with something else that's so big. That's so big because your life depends on it too, right?
Right.
You know, like our livelihood.
Right. And entrepreneurship, I mean, I can only speak from my seat as an entrepreneur, but entrepreneurship, it becomes a part of you. It's not even just your career. It's like a part of who you are and how you think. And it's really hard. I remember, I was thinking about when you were just talking, I can't remember how old my daughter was, but little, like under 6. And we were sitting on the floor playing at night. And she said to me, Mommy, I forget how she said it, but something like, Mommy, you're not here. And I said, what do you mean? I'm right here. But you're not here. And I remember thinking,
Yeah.
she knew, she felt it.
Yeah.
And she's a child, like a little child. And that's when I realized it's really hard to shut it off when you're an entrepreneur. I think when you're a business person in general, but when you're an entrepreneur, everything is owned by you. Like
The responsibility
yeah.
is immense.
Right.
It is. And so even now to this day, there are days where I'm like, okay, like be present, like be part of the conversation. But yeah, it's
so is it an acceptance thing? Is it an understanding thing? What helps?
Acceptance. Yeah. I think it's understanding. I think you need to have some good communication. Be part of the conversation is, I know it's that's a catchphrase, but I think it's important for your significant other to kind of fill you in. And I would always say that to my husband, like, well, what's going on? Like, why are you so stressed? Like, let me know, because instead of carrying around and being grumpy or cranky or, checked out with the family, it's so much more helpful to clue your other half in as to what's going on. Maybe you can't make payroll there's lots of things, especially when you are an entrepreneur with a business and you have people under you that you're responsible for their livelihoods too.
Yes.
So, I think as your business grows, depending on what your business is, but as your business grows and you start taking other people under you, the responsibility becomes bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like the weight on your shoulders is bigger.
So when you look back over the years, because it's been a lot of years, right?
We were married 27 years on Saturday.
Oh, so, congratulations. That's great. Wow. It's a big deal.
A lot of years.
So you made it past the probably the hardest times, although you never know what's ahead, but you made it past the growing times are really I think the hardest times, because so much up and down. It's hard to shut it off because you're still growing and it needs all of you.
Yeah.
A lot of times, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're competing.
Yeah.
Against it.
I mean, I can only speak to on the outside, kind of looking in, like watching the growth of the business. I think it kind of goes through developmental phases. And, but I do think at each phase you're needed in a different way.
I love that.
And
so what are the ways?
Looking out, looking in. I'm not, I just, I think at the beginning you need to nurture, right? Your idea is new, you're entrepreneurial, you're trying to figure it out, you're whatever, the funding, the people, like whatever it is that you need to kind of get it off the ground. And then, that's the infancy, right? That's like a small little baby that, might still be in the hospital that you're trying to get home. Yeah. Right. And
it's a good analogy.
Right. And then the next stage is, maybe you have a little bit more stability. But with stability comes growth, right? So you're stable, and I guess depending on what your business is, then you want to grow your business a little bit. So it's a different developmental stage. And then sometimes for some people, the end stage is, okay, now what do you do with it? Business is 12, 15, 16 years old. Like what's the next step? And all of that is going on in you're the entrepreneur in your brain.
Yes.
But the significant other sometimes is going along for the ride and they don't realize, what stage your spouse is in.
Sure. Or even think that way.
Or think that way. So it's just cluing each other in and, what does that mean for all of us, for both of us, for our family?
So communication is always important in a marriage, of course, or in any relationship. But in an entrepreneur relationship, in some ways, it's even more important so that you can at least understand why they're being whatever way they're being that moment or day or time. Yeah. But then they also, I imagine that on the other side, obviously we can't talk for Ami and nor do we want to, but it's fitting in your emotional needs too into that equation.
Yeah. And I think, again, I think, and from what I see, and, because of EO, We have a lot of entrepreneurial friends, and
That's
you know,
nice.
which is really nice. And we've met, significant others and spouses and all that kind of stuff. And
Yes.
I think that the thought of like filling in and like letting your other half know is a common theme, right? I often hear from the other, and I'll say wives because most of them are women. I remember when I wish I knew. Like I remember when
Love that.
I wish I knew. I wish I knew because then I could have, managed my family differently or communicating with the kids a little bit more about why daddy's not around. So,
well, and I want to talk about, there's a program that Bethany started for EO.
well, I didn't start. I kind of picked up after many years of not having it.
And not being able to successfully, we haven't been able to successfully create it. And now Bethany has. It's still at the beginning stages, but so far so good. I want to talk about that. I'm going to put it aside for just a moment because I have one more question, because I think once we get there, we'll probably have more questions or things to talk about. We were talking a little bit earlier about friendships, just for a minute. And friendships evolve, as we talked about, right?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, as a spouse of an entrepreneur, I'm not talking about this moment, friends that have a husband that's entrepreneur, but other friends that don't have an entrepreneurial husband. What's that like? Do they understand you? Do they...
They absolutely have no clue. I
Right.
kind of alluded to that earlier when we talked. I do feel, and I do feel that the friendships that I've had, with men and women, husbands and wives,
Sure.
whether or not they're both professionals or one is professional, one is not, but they work outside of an entrepreneurial world.
Yeah.
They work for somebody, right? They work for a corporation or a company or whatever they're doing. It's not their own. I think there's a real lack of understanding of like the commitment and the lifestyle of an entrepreneurial family. Like, for example, I said, Ami's not really ever off, like we've been on vacations with many friends and we've had couples where there's 6 or 8 couples that go away.
Oh, that's fun.
Ami and maybe one other couple that we go with, like they're the entrepreneur, they're answering phone calls and they're not off.
Right.
And so I think that some people don't understand that. They don't really understand that, when Friday night comes and everyone wants to go to happy hour and hang out, which is great because their week is over. Like Ami's week isn't over.
Right.
I mean, it can be, and sometimes it is, but I'm not saying that Ami doesn't go on vacation and we don't have fun and whatever.
Of course.
But what I'm saying is that it's just a different.
It's a different situation. He's going to be texting on his phone for a minute here and there, right?
Emails or whatever, because he doesn't have a clock. He doesn't work 9 to 5,
right?
So I think that's more of what I'm trying to say is like he doesn't have like a work clock that turns off.
And have you run into, on another side of that? I know I've run into it. Now I'm a single and divorced, but I'm a single person, but I've had situations where now that I am successful, which took a long time, I've been in the let's figure out how much food we have for the week kind of, right?
But like Ami would be like, okay, like you're done for the week.
Right.
It's like a Wednesday.
Amazon is shut down.
Yeah, you're like shut down. I mean, we've had those days before and we laugh about them now because to your point, thank God we're way at the other,
right.
The pendulum has swung. But I remember some days where,
Yeah. So now I've been personally experiencing, that's why I want to talk about this. I've been personally experiencing where my friends that I had in the early days, things have changed, right? So now I have a lot of success. I'm not, hopefully, I don't come across as somebody that throws that around and puts that in people's faces. I have friends of all different income levels, way more than me and way less than me. And it doesn't bother me. It never has. But for some people, it's become sometimes almost uncomfortable because we can't talk about the same things, right? I can't talk about, I'm going to take these trips because it sounds, and it's something I know that they can't. And then I feel bad talking about it. not because of anything, but other than I know what it felt like not to have it. So I don't want to make somebody feel like that.
Yeah.
Or feel like for whatever reason whatsoever that I feel that I'm even ounce better than them.
Yeah.
So have you run into that, like as the wife? Like what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, I think as you become more successful, and people know it, I try, to your point, to not, trying to think of how to say this. Like I try not to wear it, like, wear it on me, but people know. And I hope that my good friends are really happy for us and excited for, that.
Yeah.
I think I said to you earlier off, off air
here. Yeah.
That I am a believer that people come in and out of our lives for a reason. And I believe that, and that's okay. Like, I believe that you can have really amazing friendships with somebody and it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, whether it's your stuff or their stuff or whatever. So I try to just lean into that. But I hear what you're saying. I think it's just it's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just curious if it was different for you, but it sounds like it's pretty much the same as the entrepreneur.
Honestly, like, I have very close friends who are entrepreneurial, who it doesn't feel sometimes that they are, because maybe they haven't gotten to a point where we've gotten. Right. So there's competition there, that there's a lot, so I think that what you're talking, I think our society today is just so based on competition. Yeah. And, who has what and who can outdo who. And, I drive into, where I go to the gym every morning and it's like the cars and the this and the that. And I think that's just part of. Yeah.
We could have a whole podcast just on that subject. Right. Yeah. We'll let it go. Yeah,
it's eloquently answer, but I think that's a bigger discussion.
Yes, it absolutely is. So that's fine. So we only got a few minutes left. So it goes so fast. I want to mention that you helped restart this SLP program in EO, and just tell us real briefly about what that's like and what that's about.
Yeah, so it stands for a significant life partner, that's which we term SLP, the SLP program. It's global and it's all over the world. So I'm sure everyone who's listening to this podcast knows that EO is a global organization.
That's right.
Not just national or
200 countries, 20,000 members.
Funny enough, from what I've heard, regionally and maybe the United States, we're like the slower ones for the SLP program. There are many other countries who their significant life partners are very important and really much part of the EO kind of culture and whatever. So so I just really quickly, I will never forget, I travel a lot with Ami I guess he's been on the board and whatever. And and I travel a lot with you with Ami.
Yes, that's right.
A lot of fun places.
So fun.
The really fun thing about EO. And I remember we were in Cape Town in South Africa. Okay. And Ami was out at some of his meetings and I was at the hotel in the lobby and just hanging out, probably having a glass of wine and like just by myself. I didn't really know anyone. And Philly didn't really travel with SLPs. Like whoever was coming on the board, they didn't bring their significant others. Yeah. And there actually weren't even very many Philly representatives there. So it would be at that Philly, event. At that conference. So it was very small. So I was sitting all alone and I looked at the entrance of the hotel and there were a bunch of women laughing and having fun and whatever. And they were packing this huge van full of stuff. And I was overhearing, I was just interested. Now they were all EO wives. I want to say they're from Dallas, somewhere in the United States. Okay. And there were a lot of them. And they knew they were going to South Africa and they knew they were going to Cape Town. And they did this donation collection for the orphanages there. And they were all, and I watched them and they had such an amazing connection and they were doing something so wonderful with each other. And they were all spouses that knew each other from the same chapter. And I said to Ami, and he was going to be president then, I'm like, I really think we need to work on this in Philly. And that's kind of I came back, I spoke to whoever I needed to talk to, and I've been slowly trying to like bring it to our chapter. And I think it's receptive. I think there are mostly women, wives, girlfriends that are excited and interested to participate.
And so the last event, there was a bunch of you there.
There were, I think, like 5 of us on the committee to plan it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they all came, helped set up.
We planned it. We met with the caterers. We worked with our chapter manager, with Katie. And yeah, it's been
And
good.
I could tell you, I personally, and I know we got to finish up, but personally, well, I feel like you're my friend.
You are my friend. I when you asked me to do this, I'm like, oh my God, I can sit down and talk to you all day. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing about EO though, is that we've created all these like friendships.
That's right. And so now you have you just meet a lot of friends, and then you're with the like-minded people, which is
that's the point of it,
right?
You know, to get a group of SLPs together who understand, and some of the SLPs some of their spouses are in different places in their business, so some of them are newer businesses, and some of us are older businesses, right? So,
but I can speak from the EO perspective. Having we, or at least I, respect the spouses as much as I respect the entrepreneurs. There is no difference. It feels like you're just part of the group to me. And I think that it's good for both sides.
I mean, if you have a significant other, if an entrepreneur has a significant other, they're part of the equation.
That's right.
You know, not all, like not everyone has someone that they could show up with, but if you're showing up with somebody, that somebody is as important as that person is, because someone's
more important, hopefully, than the business.
Yeah. So that's
for playing it right.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we have to end because
so much fun.
I could talk to you all day.
I know. I'll come back anytime. But really, thank you for having me, and I hope this brings light to the other half of what goes on in an entrepreneurial mindset.
I have a feeling a lot of EOers will be showing this to their spouses after it runs. So thank you so much, Bethany. You were perfect for this. Thank you.